opposing gloves here, and this is the 7 squared video in the Kontakt from the ground up tutorial series. And what are we going to be talking about today? Oh, well, I'm glad you asked. We're going to be talking about the Skreamer pedal and how to spell Skreamer. So in grammar, they have this thing called tone. And now what this Skreamer is, so I have a cello opened up here with the Skreamer going like crazy. I'm going to turn it down. But if we were to bypass it, and there's a bypass switch right here in case you didn't know, along with some factory presets. What? You can save your own presets. So anyways, Skreamer, bypassed. We have a cello. Unbypassed, we have another distortion unit essentially. Now, we talked about distortion, and they give us a lot of options just because there's a lot of different ways to sort of go about distorting things and all these different algorithms and methods. Skreamer, the Skreamer pedal is just another option. The tone, I mean, I don't know. With things like this, it's all kind of ambiguous, but tone pretty much controls tone. So, I mean, you kind of just have to mess with the knobs to get a feel for what it does. You can tell with it off, it's not doing anything. And then on, it's got 100% of the effect. And then everywhere in between is just a mix. And so that's your end tone. And it just distorts your signal. It sounds really bright. And we have 2 things to control this. We have a bass knob. I'm going to turn this back up. We have a bass knob. And so no bass. And then a lot of bass. And I actually like the Skreamer distortion quite a bit. It sounds very smooth. Now, the way distortion, there's 3 things you can change. You can change amplitude, you can change pitch, and you can change phase. So with those 3 things, the Skreamer is using to change things. And it's mostly the emphasis on the overtone series that we're talking about here, along with amplitude. So I'm not sure very much phase is going on. Drive is the actual amount of distortion happening. So this is what makes it interesting. You can have the drive down to 0, but then the tone all the way up still creates distortion, which kind of reveals a little bit about the algorithm itself. But yeah, so this is the amount of distortion technically. This is the tone of the distortion. So you can tell that they're definitely doing something with the overtone series here. Well, like that's a no-brainer, but you gotta get a feel for what they're doing. And it's a different sort of process, and it's a much smoother distortion. And given, I mean, that's a buzzword as well, but you know how it is. Sometimes they're buzzwords because sometimes they're just easy to kind of feel the definition of. So without bass and bright, so yeah, so the EQ, when the signal comes back in, because this has to work on some sort of a feedback loop because it's got to process the audio. So this can pretty much eliminate the distortion. Now the clean really is dry wet. So if you have clean all the way 100%, but now it bypasses, there's some sort of split of frequency here. It bypasses the tone and drive, but it still goes through the EQ. So with 100% clean, we get our original signal. Hopefully that gives you some answers to your questions here. Granted, this one was a little less specific than I normally enjoy being, but yeah, it's just another distortion option you have available to you. And it doesn't tell you in the manual or here what the clean does. I mean, we figured it out. It's pretty obvious by what it says. I just thought it was funny that it wasn't in there. I was like, what? It's not in there. It's in what? So, yep. If you think clean should be in the manual, you should leave a comment about that and subscribe. And have a blessed day.